All right, let's continue the conversation now. Several things happening with this administration, as you know. Energy policy, incredibly important to Donald Trump and this administration to make America not just energy independent, but dominant in the world. And another place is with minerals, rare earth minerals, plus copper and silver and other things that are going to be greatly important in the years to come. Drew Horn joins me. He's the CEO of GreenMet and a former Trump administration official. Drew, nice to see you today.
Thanks so much for having me.
We don't talk as much about mineral deposits, but I remember back during the Biden administration, there were some rare earth elements that were found in northern Minnesota, and the Biden administration almost immediately sealed it off, said absolutely not, you can't mine them, you can't do anything, just closed it off. Look, America has the greatest natural resources in the world, be it timber, farmland, water, rare earth elements. We've got it all, plus oil and gas. But there's been this movement to basically keep it in the ground. We've got to stop thinking that way, don't we?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the reality is the United States has all the materials it can want and to be a net exporter to the world when it comes to critical minerals and resources. It's insane that we wouldn't use it. It's been, just a complete failure in the past to not realize it. We saw it at its height during the Biden administration. Obviously, when I had the privilege of, working for the president, leading this topic during the first administration, we tried to make as much headway and progress as we could. I think he's really completing the job with his team now, and I think you're going to see a lot of things return to sanity, if you will.
Yeah, there's this big mine that they're opening in Alaska. Now, there are partners, I believe, from Australia and Canada in addition to the United States. They're punching through a 200-mile road to make sure we have access to these minerals. This is something that's been in the headlines a little bit. But again, it doesn't get enough attention. The amount of copper we're going to need for AI and for the new wave of high tech, that in of itself is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, AI, Bitcoin, all of the, kind of trendy new big pushes that are, building a massive new series of markets in this area. They all need these resources in excess. And we have them ourselves. We need to be able to provide them ourselves. We need to have a secure supply chain where we don't have an adversary like China, choking us out every time, we try and make a move forward without them. There's a common sense approach here. I think President Trump is, like I said, leading the charge on that, but you've got a lot of companies coming in behind it. And it's a US, Canadian, Australian story with the US at the forefront, the US leading it. And that's what you're seeing unveil itself with this project and others now.
So when you look out there across the horizon of these minerals, Drew, and those are the three countries that seem to be involved as much as anyone and key partners of ours, despite, arguments over tariffs and so forth, they're still key partners as we move forward. What is the need? What are the things that you see that we need the most of, that are the most acute?
Well, so obviously the heavy rare earths are most in need. They're in everything from your cell phone to space travel equipment and aircraft, everything you can possibly imagine. Those are obvious. So you got like dysprosium and terbium. Those are our primary top targets. You've also got materials like gallium, germanium, tungsten, antimony. All of those are essential, not just for big tech, but for national security needs. We've got a big story where we secured an investment or a commitment from the Export-Import Bank of the United States for our partners, Locksley, who does big antimony out west in the United States, out in the Mojave. Like that's needed for everything you could possibly imagine. Like I said, from household electronics, everything for the supply chain for AI, and also so that we can just defend ourselves against China, Russia, and others that mean us harm.
How important is it at this point in the conversation to make sure these things are codified, to make sure that if there's a change in 2026 or 28, that we have put in place the building blocks for, like I said, energy security, mineral security, American security, because they all kind of are intertwined, right? What do we need to do to make sure that we're protected from the Green New Dealers, if you will?
Well, we need to codify in Congress everything that the administration is moving forward with right now. We tried to do that last time. We ran out of time for various reasons I won't, get into on this particular call. But we have everything going this time around. And I think, the president and his top advisors understand the way forward here. I think that allies on the Hill do as well. And so I think they're working to actively codify that into legislation. We're in the midst of a sprint right now. We've got essentially until the midterms to lock in as much tangible progress as possible. That's what we refer to as Trump speed. It's a real thing, and it's moving faster than warp speed. So we need to make sure that we have a whole of government and whole of industry alignment in getting these things tangibly tied up, underway, and producing as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So when you look at this investment, $190 million, that's just one, of course. Letter of interest is what they put together, the Export-Import Bank of the United States, EXIM as it's called. That's just one step. Looking 5 years or 10 years down the road, it gets much more important. We're behind in many ways to China, to others around the world that are competing with us. How far behind are we? How critical is it?
Well, not to use a pun, but the critical minerals critical issue is extremely critical. We need to find a way to take the lead on this. It's in the world's interest, not just our own. But I think what's not understood is how close we can be with the amount of resources being applied right now. We've got multiple billion-dollar private equity groups and funds and institutions coming into this, investing heavily. The large banks, the large defense and automotive institutions are investing heavily in sourcing, understanding they need this. So are the AI companies. So we have all the resources we need. We have the right president who's looking, to fast track permitting and common sense reform. Honestly, within a year's time, we can correct a lot of this as long as we have a whole of government and whole of industry focus on this, and we continue to work in close coordination like we are now.
In 1 year, we can turn this around in 1 year. I mean, if we can do it in 1 year, and nothing in government works that fast, but Drew, if we can get there, we can correct a lot of years of bad policy, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, it literally takes an all hands on deck effort, right? We're talking about a situation similar to when the United States responded during World War II, where, in a year's time, we were able to turn everything on and essentially help the entire world, from an ally perspective, win that war. We can do the same thing economically right now with minerals, materials, metals. All of those things are just as crucial, and the free world is at stake. And so I think everyone that needs to is aware of that. We're all working very closely together. There's enormous economic upside for investors and others that are looking at it from just a solely business perspective. So it's a good story. And I think you're seeing everyone engage in that collective sprint together the way we need to win.
Yeah, and when I see bad policies, and I want to get to this before I let you go, Drew, and that says, I see that Ford is going to discontinue the Lightning pickup truck. Another example of policies pushing towards something that was never going to work. If your business plan is government subsidies, that's no business plan at all. That's my opinion. But you look at the failure of EVs for General Motors, for Ford, for others, it was never going to work that way. But we do need it for other things. And then I look at, there's some charts you can look at every day, the amount of power being produced by wind and solar on the East Coast of the United States. It runs less than 3%, sometimes less than 1% of all the power being generated. These are all things that are interconnected. I'll give you the last word on that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You can't have fake businesses and scams being propped up by government subsidies that they never should have gotten, right? Obviously, there's a history with previous administrations with, projects.
There is, yeah. I mean, it
never
should have been done. Never should have been done. I got to leave it right there for today. I got to leave it right there for today. It is real, and you're doing something about it. And so I tip my hat to you, Drew. I really appreciate you being here. You come back anytime because these are critical conversations.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, and have a good day.
We'll take a break and be right back on The Steve Gruber Show.